So the November 6, 2025, awesome. 2025 Des Moines City Council Committee of the Whole is now called to order. The Committee of the Whole is the council's opportunity to hear briefings from staff on a variety of items and emerging issues. This is a time for the council to be educated and give them an opportunity to offer input and direction to staff. Though the public is invited to attend, it's not a time to have public interaction or hear from the public in regard to the issues. No formal council action will be expected during this time. Please note that 6 council members are in attendance tonight and that Councilmember Nutting is out of the country celebrating his 50th birthday, so with his family. So do I have a motion to excuse? So moved and seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand. 6-0, thank you. Okay, so on to the item of the Committee of the Whole tonight. We'll be hearing a discussion of the capital improvements plan, and we'll get a briefing from staff. So I think we're opening with Jeff tonight. Oh, okay, City Manager.
As Jeff gets ready to sort of start the presentation, I wanted to sort of, CIPs can sometimes be a bit, well, they serve 2 purposes. So they are a multi-year plan, and they are never fully funded for all 5 years. So you're going to see projects in the out years that are not paid for. We don't have a funding source. They're sort of the to-do list that's a little bit longer term. But what we've really focused on is looking at 26, because this is part of your budget process. So the projects for 26 that are funded, or if there's any outstanding grant funding, is what we're going to focus on. So as you get closer in on the present, a CIP becomes much more really grounded in reality. And then when you get further out, it's a little more, planning level. So I just wanted to say that as you guys get started. So, Jeff?
I was going to say good evening, Mayor, but she stepped out. So good evening, Council. Jeff Friend, Finance Director. We're going to present the 2026 to 2031 Capital Improvement Plan to the committee, and then we're going to bring it to the regular committee meeting next week. But this is a chance at the committee level just to have a discussion, answer questions on specific projects that you might have. The work that takes to create the capital improvement plan involves a lot of collaboration between Public Works, between the Marina, and between Finance. There's a lot of meetings over several weeks. So we appreciate the teamwork that takes place amongst staff. And having said that, there is one person I do want to give a shout out to who is the central focal point of the whole process, and that's Jackson Swigert, who is actually our principal accountant, sitting right next to Slevin back there with his long hair.
Stand up and be recognized. He did a lot of work on this.
Yeah. So he has to work with everyone who touches the CIP, gather that information. He's also a source of a lot of questions that engineers have. He provides the financial information. And though, if you look at the plan this year and look at past plans, you'll see it looks very similar, but he also rebuilt everything behind that created that, because we did create it in our budget software last year, and then this year we didn't have that software, and so he made improvements on there too. So he did a lot of work to produce this. Next slide. So this is the headlines. This is the 2026 to 2031 CIP. There's 87 projects, and the funding figure is $175,275,000. So that is the headlines. And then what is a CIP? There are 2 pieces of the CIP that was already mentioned, but it's a list of projects in the near term that tend to be fully funded, but it's also a planning tool or wish list of projects that you have on the horizon. You might not have had found all the funding for those. So it's like at your house, you might think, well, I'm going to buy a TV. I've got some money in the bank. I'll do that next week. And then you might think, well, I'd like a hot tub. That takes a lot of plumbing. I don't know how I'm going to pay for that. Maybe I'll do that in 5 years, but it's on your radar. And the other reason why you'd have a project like that in the plan is because if we have a plan that's not funded, we haven't identified the funding, we want to have it in the plan for when we apply for grants. Because one of the questions will be, is that in your capital improvement plan? So you have it in there so you can get funding, even though it's completely unfunded. And a visual representation of that is in the near term, projects tend to be fully funded, and as you go out further into the 5 years, they tend to be unfunded. And in between, you might have projects where you have one funding source secured, but maybe you haven't figured out the other funding, or you've applied for a grant, the grant hasn't fully come through yet, so you have an unsecured grant. So you might have different shades of being unfunded in between and funded, but that's tend to be the spectrum of the nature of the projects in the plan. CIP expenditures, so the $175 million was the headline, but there's always more to the story. We do not have $175 million in the bank. But secured funding, which includes grants and other funding sources that are detailed in the document, is $123,014,000. Unsecured grants, so these are grants that have been identified, but we haven't gotten the grants yet, is $46,504,000. And then unidentified funding, where we haven't identified the funding, but we've identified the project, is $5.757 million. So that's the total, that's the details of the $175 million funding number. The expenditure overview. So this is a year-by-year schedule showing planned expenditures amongst 5 categories. So just to take a look at the categories, building facility projects, that's really repair and replacement of city facilities. And then municipal capital improvements, which is 2 rows down, that is basically a new project that we're going to construct, or as an additional improvement that's significant to an existing structure. The other 3 categories are marina capital improvements related to the marina, surface water management capital related to surface water, and of course transportation projects. So if we look at 2026, which we are kind of focused on as it's coming up in just a month and a half or so, that's $33,859,000 that were planned expenditures. And we have a list also later in the presentation of projects next year that we're planning to start or continue. So projects overview. So projects in the plan have a different status according to funding. So fully funded projects, there are 68 of them. Partially funded projects, there's 15. So maybe they've acquired a grant or we've identified a funding source, but not for all the cost of the project. And then 4 projects are just completely unfunded. Total projects, that all adds up to the total 87 projects. So projects do come online and they do go offline. They do close out. So these are projects that this year are closing. And there's about $17.3 million in related expenditures to these projects. And yes, we're very happy that that slide is done. So this is the list there. So Redondo Floats, Redondo Restroom is a significant one, Soundview Park, Flag Triangle, pipe upgrade on 216th and Marine View Drive, whatnot. These are the 2026 projects, and you can see they're broken out by the category. So for the building facility projects, that's about $380,000 of planned expenditures for next year. Marina capital improvements, $880,000. Municipal capital improvements total, a little over $17 million. Surface water management capital projects, a little over $5 million. And transportation projects is almost $10.5 million. And then we're going to have, of course, further slides on specific projects following my section of the presentation. But those numbers total the $33 million. And now it is Scott's turn to talk about the 2 marina capital projects.
Oh, you next slide is fine. Go right ahead. Which one is this one? Thank you, Money Jeff. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Scott Wilkins with your Des Moines Marina. A couple of our projects, yes. The tenant restroom, as you know, this one's been in the making for multiple years, and I'm glad this one's finally come to fruition. It was originally built in 1970. It's a men's room and a women's room. They each have one shower, small bathrooms. We're going to be tearing this one down and replacing it with a prefab construction. We can get a lot of costs down that way without having design and engineering and different things. It'll have 4 individual unisex restrooms, which will be for tenants only, and they'll all have showers and upgraded, everything will be nice in there for them. We'll actually add 1 public restroom because it's a long walk from the end of Anthony's all the way to the other end of the marina, so we'll put a public restroom in there, and then a porta potty dump station for the small boaters that have porta potties on it. This will come in like a double wide mobile home, and we'll set it on a foundation. It'll take about the same footprint it is now, maybe a little farther east, and we'll dress it up on the outside really nice, and it'll fit in really well, and we're excited for this one. I have a little more not engineering, but a little more permitting to do, and then we'll get on that one. So hopefully 2026, this one will come in. Redondo float replacement in 2022, 2023, we replaced the south side boarding floats from a grant from RCO and then some city money. Katie Bavegny, she's our assistant harbor master. She's back there in the corner, and this was actually her project, and she got the grant funding secured for this one, so we're excited for that. And there's not a lot of design or engineering needed on this one either, so we'll save a lot of money because all we're going to do is replicate what's on the south side and flip it to put it on the north side. So we're going to save a lot of money that way. And we have 1 permit we're waiting on. This should go out to bid by the end of December, and we can hopefully get those built quickly, and hopefully they'll be in for the 2026 boating season. And that I believe, is my only 2 projects. Thank you. Any questions at all? Yes.
Well, thank you. Could we get like a brochure on that aforementioned restroom?
Of course. Yep.
So, swell. I do have a couple like sort of in the weedsy things, but I'll get with you offline. You have made quite a number of people happy. So.
It's been a long time in the making. Thank you, but I'll get it to you.
Hello, Council. Alex Johnson, Surface Water Engineer. We have a few projects to highlight, the first of which is the 5th Avenue and 212th Street pipe upgrades. So I won't read the slide to you, but 2,000 linear feet of aged corrugated metal pipe. This falls into our larger plan of replacement of corrugated metal, identification and replacement of all corrugated metal pipe in the city limits. So this is one of our first big steps towards that eventual goal. This one is going to start design next year with the goal of construction in 27, and we anticipate that that will be completed within that calendar year. I'll go ahead and leave it open for any questions as I'm on these slides, but if I don't, yes, Mayor?
So is this all part of the Washington State tribal thing, the salmon recovery? Is this all part of that, or is this just?
This one is not, no.
So this is just their aged, collapsing?
Yeah, this is just very much an aging infrastructure. If it was a much smaller scale, it might be a maintenance project, but given the scale of infrastructure that's being replaced, it's capital.
So is it, what kind of, is it concrete, or are you using, like, what are the pipes?
They're made out of corrugated metal right now, which is part of.
The new ones?
It'll probably be polyethylene plastic.
All right, thanks.
And I'm sorry, just what's the age expected for the plastic?
Do you know off the top of your head? 70 to 100 years. Yeah, once things are underground, they can last a while. Any other questions on this slide? Now we have the estuary. I know everyone in front of me is very familiar with this one. Just so you know, we will have a much more substantial update on this project in Q1 of next year. we're currently progressing towards 30% design, and Q1 is when we'll kind of have that ready to present and to get your input and feedback on what we're looking at. But yeah, just briefly, this is a pretty substantial undertaking. We are currently funded through about 900,000 of the 1.03 million that we anticipate for design. We're funded through more than the end of next year, so we've built in plenty of time for ourselves to find the remaining grants to get through final design. And then construction is a pretty scary looking 16.5 million. We do intend for that to be grant funded, and in the springtime, when I give the 30% update, that will come with an actual cost estimate. So this is very much a conservative placeholder. Any questions on the estuary?
So typically on that grant funding, the 16.5, you obviously do design work and you put it out to try to get these grants. Do you see that being a sum of like several grants, or?
Absolutely, yeah. This for the
state?
we haven't gotten to that level of breakdown yet, but as far as like grant themes, whether it's a green space oriented, a recreation, salmon recovery, flood reduction, watershed management. We anticipate getting funding from a number of sources. And so as we're progressing towards 30%, we're discussing with the design team kind of strategy around that, and kind of naturally packaging things in ways that we want to highlight different portions of this project, because it's so multifaceted, to different funding groups, to kind of show them that your money will go to this part of this project, and here's how it benefits salmon, flood reduction, recreational space, etc.
And are the grants like annually awarded, where you might have to go repetitive years to get some of these monies, you think, or?
Yeah, we, given the sum that we're looking at, we're anticipating potentially needing to get and this is also what we've done in design so far. We have the flood reduction grant from King County from consecutive years, the same thing with the cooperative watershed. So we do anticipate needing to go for the same grants year after year, and we'll just need to make sure that once we're going towards construction, that we are getting grants that don't expire before we have that total sum that we can start building.
In the design work, you're going to be parting it. You're going to have like segments, like say three or four phases, where you can fund one, fund the next, fund the third, and on. Or
for design,
no,
no.
You'll have that as part of your plan. Does that come with the design work?
Oh, you mean like phased for construction?
Yeah. So example 16.5, we break it up into four for simplicity, 25% each, 4 million. A section, a phase in
Yep.
the design work, where you can, so you may be able to get this work done this year, the next work.
Yes.
I know some of it's in rhythm, and you have to do 8 million at once to get it done, because it's done right.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of the stage that we're at right now. We have started those conversations of what would phased construction look like, and I think after 30%, 30% is still pretty conceptual design. That's largely just figuring out where the blobs sit next to each other. Once that's set, the design team will have a much better idea of what can be packaged together, and we will start talking about what potential phase construction could be like if we needed to, if we could only secure limited funds, but also talking about, there's obviously some inefficiencies in that, and so what are the added costs of going about it that way, and where does the cost benefit come out?
No, exactly. That's where I was headed.
Yep.
It's a great project, one that'll benefit this community for a long time. So great.
Yeah, we're very excited for it. Councilmember Auxiliary, did you have any questions?
No, Mike, you answered them.
Great. Anyone else on the estuary? Perfect. Last one is 16th Avenue Pipe Project. This project actually changed in scope pretty recently. We were initially going to take this across the roadway going west and to replace a ditch that we currently have that runs through, I think, about 5 private parcels. So in lieu of that, we are currently working with one of our on-call engineers to do a feasibility study on this, and it's looking like we will be able to divert everything into our existing system, and so this has become an upsizing and an upgrading of existing infrastructure. We're hoping for a pretty aggressive but achievable design schedule on this, where we will start and complete design as well as construction in 2026. And that's kind of why you're seeing that it's a much lower design budget than what we typically would have, because we're just using our existing alignment and we're hoping to just upsize some pipes. Any questions? Great. I will pass it along.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tommy Owen, City Engineer. So this evening I'll be presenting a few of our transportation projects. The first one is the North Hill Elementary Walkway Improvements Project. This will construct curb gutter sidewalk on 200th up near North Hill Elementary. We'll also improve a pedestrian crossing in front of the elementary school on 8th. So this project right now, we're working through design as well as some remaining right-of-way parcels. Once we finish that up, we anticipate going out to bid in early 26 with construction in 26 and 27. This project received about $3 million in a WashDOT Safe Routes to School grant. Any questions on this one?
No, just I'm ecstatic it's getting done.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to improve that so much for the safety of our children. It's a long-needed project, and it's good to see one happen in North Hill up on the higher end of it. So just ecstatic it's getting done.
This is a little off subject, but what is going on up there right now at 8th and 200th?
Likely you're seeing the utilities get out of the way prior to our construction. So we're working with most of the communication companies out there, right, our franchise utilities, so they can move their facilities before we construct the project.
And do we have any idea how much longer you're going to be in there?
I believe they should be out of there within the next month or two. But that's variable because it's multiple communication companies.
Thank you.
All right, the next project is the Barnes Creek Trail Project on 240th from 16th to 20th. This project will, again, construct curb gutter sidewalk on both sides of the road with a widened trail on the north side of 240th. It'll also construct a 4-way stop-controlled intersection at 20th. This project has gone out to bid. Council awarded the contract on this, and we're waiting for Lumen, another one, to basically move their facilities near the PSE substation on 240th. So it's anticipated that they will be done within the next couple weeks, and our contractor will start about mid-December on this project. This one, we received about $2 million from Sound Transit and another $3.5 million in state appropriations. Any questions?
This is just by the by, but you mentioned Lumen, and I ask this cranky question all the time. When they come in and do some new siting, do they have any obligation to sort of clean up old pedestals and stuff like that from back when they were Century, Pacific Bell, AT&T, and you know what I'm driving at is that they build and then they just leave stuff. And I can visualize the junk in that spot right now. And it would be lovely if...
Yeah, we can, when we can, we try to get them to remove their facilities rather than just abandon in place. But yeah, we need to refer back to the franchise agreement and what specifically is spelled out there.
Okay, I don't mean to be naggy. I'm happy to, like, you know, chocolates, small gifts. I just... Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So once this project is done, what do we have left to do on 240th between 16th and Pack Highway? Is there,
Yeah, so there is a project in the TIP. I think there's multiple projects in the TIP from 20th to Pack Highway. I think it's 27th on 240th. It actually goes into Kent's jurisdiction there. So we don't quite have, our boundary is just a little short of Pack Highway, but we do have projects in the TIP to basically continue this. Maybe not necessarily the trail, because it's envisioned that the trail could veer off into Highline College property instead of staying on 240th, but it is a ways out there in the TIP, and we haven't begun any sort of design on those projects yet.
okay, I'm asking in conjunction with, okay, we're opening light rail, and that's maybe one of the major corridors. And so how far out is it?
I'm not sure. There is curb gutter and sidewalk there currently, so there is a pedestrian pathway.
Thank you.
Okay, and the last project I have is the neighborhood traffic calming project. So this was presented to council as kind of a formal traffic control process earlier this year. We recently went out to bid for 5 locations throughout town to install 10 speed bumps. Those bids came back in, and this will actually be on the council next week to award the bid on this. We were pretty happy with the bid that we got, so we look forward to installing speed bumps throughout the city. Maybe this year, it's just kind of weather dependent, but likely into the spring of 2026.
Is there a list of the 5 locations?
They're shown up there on the map. Yeah, yep, yeah. It is. It'll be in the packet for next week.
Great, thanks.
That concludes the slide presentation, so.
Yeah, while I got you, on totally unrelated, every year there's a little bit of money for the guardrail thing. Do you have like a list of just the spots you're going to hit?
We don't. That's something that we've been talking about internally in engineering recently. I don't have any particular spots that I know of that are out of compliance currently. I need to speak with our public works superintendent to see if he has any locations that he's thinking about. But if you know of any, I would be sure to listen.
Well, there's the little lighting thing on 216th where it comes into, but this is a safety thing, correct?
Right.
It's not an aesthetic.
Right.
Scoring. Okay. Well, I just
Yep.
thought I'd try to get that in there. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll bring this back as part of the budget adoption, but next week's meeting will focus more on the actual budget itself. And so this will just be, I think, on consent for budget. No, it'll be part of public hearing for budget adoption.
Just new business, it's one reading.
Okay, but we won't go into this level of detail. We wanted to do that tonight because there'll be a lot of budget next week.
The November 6th, 2025 Des Moines City Council study session is now called to order. Councilmember Harris will now lead us in the pledge. Please stand if you're able. Let the record show that there are 6 council members present tonight. Councilmember Nutting is celebrating his 50th birthday out of the country. Do I have a motion to excuse? Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. 6-0. Councilmember Nutting is excused. So to all of the public joining us tonight, welcome and thank you. Appreciate you being here. For those watching online or on Channel 21, please know that we cannot attend to our phones from the dais. So if you do experience any technical difficulties during your watching the meeting tonight, please call or, please email cityclerk@desmoineswa.gov. So it's now time for comments from the public, and because this is a study session, we'll only be hearing comments that address items on the agenda. Other subjects can be heard at our regular city council, our regular business meeting. We ask that you keep your comments respectful. If you come to the podium, you'll have 3 minutes, and please state your name and city. So we have one person signed up tonight. I'll call forward Bettina Carey. Thanks.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members and community members and staff. Before I move into my comments on our 2026 legislative priorities, I want to take a brief moment to recognize our city manager, Catherine Caffrey, on her belated 1-year anniversary with the city of Des Moines. Catherine, your leadership over the past year has brought stability, collaboration, and renewed energy to the city. You've built strong partnerships across departments and with this council, and proving that when we work together as one team, Des Moines moves forward. Your focus on balanced budgeting, economic growth, and especially public safety has made a real difference. Your strengthened coordination between city staff and law enforcement, prioritized community engagement, and has really set a tone of accountability and care that the residents can feel. And as we look ahead to shaping our 2026 legislative priorities, I want to build on that momentum, especially around ensuring our officers have the staffing, the tools, and support that they need to keep every neighborhood safe. And that's why tonight I am just mentioning a little bit about this, but I also was, just to be transparent, wanted to make sure that you were acknowledged for your celebration. Thank you.
Thank you, Bettina. Is there anybody who did not sign up to speak who wishes to speak tonight? All right, thank you. So we're going to move into our discussion items. The first item on the agenda is our Community Development Code Amendments, and our Community Development Director, Rebecca Deming, is coming forward. The purpose of this presentation is to hear about upcoming code amendments. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This is to give a brief overview of all the code amendments that we should see for the rest of the meetings this year and some into 2026. So we've got application abandonment. This is a municipal code amendment that we're going to bring that's going to look at expiring land use applications so that they terminate 180 days after we request corrections. This allows applications to expire. We have some applications that are even 4 years old out there or later. So when people don't formally withdraw, they just sit there because we don't currently have a code to let them basically expire. We do have a code that once they're approved, they expire, but not the actual application. Co-living housing, this is a state mandated code that we're bringing to you. This is for residential development sleeping units, similar to dorms or single room occupancies or boarding houses. They're also called residential suites. So these are individual sleeping units that are independently rented and lockable that provide living and sleeping spaces with shared kitchen facilities and sometimes shared bathroom facilities. We're required to allow these in areas that allow for zoning of 6 units or more. So this will be in areas in multifamily areas, including mixed-use areas. So we'll be seeing this next week. These are the provisions, so we'll be treating the co-living housing similar to a quarter of a unit in terms of parking, as well as density. Religious property housing is one that we were working on, expecting to come back this year, but this one actually is going to get pushed to January. So we'll see this in 2026. This has provisions for density bonus requirements for affordable housing. So areas where there's middle housing, a lot of areas allow an additional density bonus where religious properties like churches own property, as well as different requirements for homeless encampments, both inside the building and outside. So we'll bring that back with additional details in January, is what we're hoping to bring back for you. There's a lot, that one has a lot of details on what we can and can't do as relates to health and safety and additional limits for duration, permit fees, insurance, things like that. Lot splitting is basically a new code requirement, state requirement that allows someone to split their lot into 2. The process is similar to a lot line adjustment. It doesn't have to go through the short plat process, much closer to a lot line adjustment process. This one's under SB 1096. A very simple, it's basically a new process that we're pushing a lot forward sooner than the state requires for customer service that a lot of people have been asking for. And then unit lot subdivision is another one that's not required this quickly, but we're pushing forward because a lot of people have been asking for this. And this is similar to a process where we treat it from a zoning perspective as the parent lot, but then there's individual lots within it. So it's kind of like a condominium, but not, where you, instead of just owning the building, you also own the land underneath, but it doesn't have to meet the same minimum lot sizes because we treat the overall lot in terms of setbacks and zoning and those kinds of things. So I'll get into a little bit more of the requirements. So in terms of unit lot subdivision, it follows the similar requirements of a short plat. So it's all administrative review, no public hearing, but there is noticing requirements. And then in 2026, I'll get into a little bit details of the conversion of existing buildings, which is another state code that we'll be bringing. The critical areas ordinance is, again, another state one that we'll be in the process of updating. You guys have requested the tree mitigation, tree replacement code, so that's one we've been doing research on and are hoping to bring back in 2026, as well as the sound code that we've been working on. And then we're looking at doing a vacant commercial space registration program. So looking at doing something where we can register and do inspections on boarding up and also encouraging vacant spaces to keep and economic development wise to get them used.
Love it.
And so the conversion of existing buildings is the code that requires basically a vacant office building, additional density for residential conversion to residential uses. And so that's what that code does. It basically allows housing units entirely within the envelope of that building at a density of 50% greater than allowed by the underlying zone with no additional parking required. And so that's the code that we'll be bringing back in 2026 under that requirement. And so our question is because these are all very quick, though most of them won't have an additional intro on top of the public hearing when we bring it back, we wanted to find out what information you might need and any other questions you might have ahead of the public hearing. And I'm happy to answer any other questions you have within this presentation. Thank you.
Any questions? Councilmember Grace Matsui and then Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit. Thank you for the presentation. I wanted to ask a little bit about the application abandonment. And I'm wondering if 180 days is too long or if it could be something that is shorter. It seems to me that there have been major changes to zoning through the state year after year for quite some time. And we may be running to catch up with design requests platting, all sorts of things, and then applications that are 6 months old might be out of code.
A majority of cities are 180 days. There, in our research, only one city was 90 days. But it is a pretty normal to be at 180 days. But it is up to the city to choose what that time frame is.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to not be me and limit it to two things. Regarding application abandonment, it would be lovely, there is a question here, if they resubmit, that the placard could be updated to indicate that. Because what is the case now is you'll see the big wooden board there for years, and people wonder what's going on. And it might be nice if it just indicated that, you know, it was still in process, the guy's trying to find the money or whatever. Does that make sense, what I'm?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, to try and get the board updated based on the status.
Yeah, because people, it's not just a question of it being abandoned, it's just people wonder, like, what's the deal? And, you know, rather than have to go to the page and go 4 blinks deep and so on. The other thing is regarding repurposing the buildings. Wow, yeah, I have no questions.
Yeah.
But what I would like to see, my understanding is that in cities like Detroit that have tried this, it's a non-trivial task because apparently everything from lighting, HVAC, and so on. I'm just trying to, I mean, I don't even know what I'm asking, but like, is there good guidance as to how people actually do this stuff without failing?
I've seen some good conversions. I think the part that concerns me is the parking. I'm not as concerned about the density. Usually when you're converting an existing building, a lot of our requirements where we see this being done is usually already in mixed-use zones where we don't necessarily have a density cap. Our cap is usually based already on height and setbacks. It's not on a specific density number. So this isn't meant for a city like us. It's meant for someone who really says in a mixed-use zone you can only have 30 units per acre. So these are trying to get mixed uses to allow for higher density because that's usually where you're seeing unused commercial buildings, and trying to get people to allow residential in mixed use and a solo residential uses. And I think, so my biggest concern is where someone might have a very small amount of parking and then we end up with 100 residential and there might be 20 spaces or something. But it's a state requirement, so there's not much we can do. But you're gonna still have to meet all the building code. So you're still gonna have to meet ADA requirements. You're still gonna have to make it fit. You're still gonna only be able to fit as many units as you can and still meet all of the building code requirements for HVAC, for ADA. So it still has to be worthwhile and they're still gonna have to rent them and they're still gonna have to make money. So I haven't seen too many under this new code because it's going to be, it's required by next year. So we don't have any use cases or best practices yet because no city's been required to do it until next year.
Okay, I guess I'm just trying to think about you covering your costs because this is a novel, I mean, like inside the envelope, it's going to be quite a thing, maybe. Okay, sorry I can't be more specific. I'm just curious, since you're bringing it forward, I'm assuming somebody's like figured it out. And
we're seeing a lot of these with the legislative changes. They're just trying to make housing more affordable and requiring cities to make these requirements and reduce the barriers. So.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Mahoney and the Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Covering the religious property housing. Love to see a comparison from what it is today versus what it will be.
Yes.
Obviously, in a lot of cases, these have turned into controversial issues, so at least we are aware of what the differences are so we can explain to the public. Also, the co-living housing, obviously, because it looks like, just obviously seeing for the first time, treats it as 1/4 of a dwelling unit and so forth. I could see this problematic for parking and things like that. Probably need a little, definitely would need some more detail on that as well. I could see, this is for residential, but it includes mixed-use zones. So I could see that being problematic. I don't know what I'm looking for there, but I guess maybe a comparison to what it is today and what they're trying to expand it to and what some of the limitations we have, or like making ourselves aware of what the potential problems are. Parking right off the bat, but, you know, we have it where if you rent a house, you're supposed to have a business license. And in these cases, do they, or
Yeah,
is it required, or?
Think of it as just a deeply affordable apartment that might not have a kitchen. They're sharing a kitchen.
Yeah,
And that's really what it is.
yeah, I've seen that. It's just obviously obviously you're gonna have a renter and a rentee off somebody else's lease, and there's some legal issues and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not taking a house. They would need to be building the co-living housing because it's a 6-unit. They're not just taking because that's what some people are thinking, oh, it's like renting a room in a house. No, because it's a 6-unit, it's only allowed in multifamily. So they're building co-living housing. So they're building like an apartment complex, but they're building it as sleeping units that are lockable like individual apartments. And so it's going to be a multifamily building that's a renter, or, you know, a management company that's renting to each individual one.
All right, and then just because I'm interested, so the unit lot subdivision. So we have that South Shore area in Zenith. Are you aware of?
Okay.
It was grandfathered in like 100 and some years ago, I think, it's that old, where there's individual homes owned and then a common area. It sounds like this is something a lot those lines. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's down in the Zenith neighborhood.
Okay.
But it seems like it might be similar to that as a reference. That gives me a good visualization if that is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple ways that you can still have a subdivision that you own the lot and still have common areas. You can also have condominiums that own just the property in the common areas. This is just another way that you, instead of subdividing it with an HOA area, you don't have to treat each individual lot to meet the underlying zoning. So like if you own a home and you build an ADU, you can sell off the ADU with the land underneath it under the unit lot subdivision, and that lot doesn't have to meet the minimum lot size because we still treat the parent lot as that minimum lot size. So that's what the intent is. This is to help people build equity in their land and allow you to sell off your backyard with your ADU, because for setbacks and lot sizes are still treating the parent lot, but you can sell off your ADU and the land underneath and someone else can own it.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Steinmetz?
Yeah, and one of the things that kind of occurs to me is that on both the missing middle bill and the other one that accompanied that, there wasn't a true definition of what a lot was. It just, and in Des Moines, we have lots of varying sizes that are residential. And so, you know, a better understanding of, are there minimum lot sizes involved in this? How does that work with some of the proposals in terms of both the lot splitting and in terms of the unit lot subdivision? And then the other thing that really occurs to me is the parking bill that was passed last year. How does that interplay with adding all these different units into lots? And the state law says we can't require certain amounts of parking. So just if that could be laid out so we know exactly where those parameters are, that's one of the things that would be very helpful to me to understand where we're going.
So in terms of the parking bill, we only adopted early the pieces that relate to single family and middle housing. The rest of the parking in terms of multifamily, where some of this other ones would go into effect, and commercial, we're not required to implement that until 2028. So that's not on this slide because those implementation requirements come into 2028. I think we're going to possibly bring it up a little bit next year as we start talking about downtown and implementation requirements, because that's one idea I have, is to look at those parking requirements for that bill and possibly bringing them a little bit early. But that's something we can definitely talk about, how that all relates, especially with like the co-living housing and what that would be under the new bill versus what we currently require.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking, even if we adopt these codes, as we're supposed to, even in 2 years, 2027, you know, they're not going to be put into operation until those parking requirements come in. And so we've got to see that in that context, because we're not adopting them in a vacuum, a parking vacuum. Instead, there are some restrictions that we put on them. And I'd just like to be able to see that, how that plays out.
Yep.
That's one of the questions that I have.
Okay, Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. And, you know, I may be really slow on this, but so this would allow for, or is it already a thing to have group ownership of a condominium building? I mean, no, it never occurred to me. I've always thought of condos as having a management company, and then you have an HOA, but the management company owns the land.
So, yes, so in a condominium ownership, you own the building, and then the CC&Rs, or you own a piece of, usually, the underlying land. With unit lot subdivision, you can also own the land underneath.
So is this something different in the sense of the ownership of the, you know, like it's like the group owns the entire building in a way that?
It's the opposite. So with unit lot subdivision, you no longer, instead of condominiumizing, so right now, under the ADU laws, you can condominiumize your ADU, and so someone could just buy the building. With the new unit lot subdivision, you can subdivide it, similar to a short plat, so much easier, and instead of condominiumize it, someone can buy the ADU and the land underneath. And so you don't have to do CC&Rs sometimes, but some unit lot subdivisions still have group ownership because you still need access. So I don't want to say just because you unit lot subdivides doesn't mean that there's not group ownership, because there's still sometimes group ownership for access and utilities. But some ways, like townhomes, you may not, you know, if they all have direct access to the road, you may not need those CC&Rs, or you may not have group shared ownership lots.
Is there established law to deal with, you know, disputes? And, I mean, does this change in any way controversies between neighbors?
Nope.
Okay, I'm just, because HOA, just
Nope,
little
still
disputes are.
private disputes between neighbors is still private disputes between neighbors.
Thank you.
I had a couple questions. One in regard to page 138, the conversion of existing buildings. When this comes back, could you give maybe one or two examples of how that would work in the city of Des Moines? Like, what's the benefit to us of doing this? Is the benefit on Pack Highway, the benefit down in our main corridor? And do you need a certain zone in order to do this, or could you do it anywhere?
We are required to do it in every zone that allows multifamily residential use.
Okay.
So the benefit is we have to meet state law, but I can try and find examples of places that have done it well.
Yeah, or where that would happen, where would that happen in Des Moines? That would be the question that I would ask. And then in regard to the vacant commercial properties.
Yep.
Where was that? What slide was that?
That's just a list of what we're working on that I don't have details yet, because it's just a.
Oh, this is what I wanted to ask. So when that comes back, when you said, you did mention something about possibly boarding up or whatever the parameters are. So if we could have like a list of types of things that we could use as a consequence. Or like if you're going to enact a vacant commercial property code, what are the choices of consequences? Are fees for a vacancy, for inactivity, or is it like, say you said something about boarding up? Is it what are the options?
Yep.
Okay. And that's all I had. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? Looks like we're good. Great work. It looks like there's some exciting things coming down the pike on this.
And a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, you've had a lot of practice at that. Man, you've been working hard. Thank you so much. All right, the next item up is our legislative priorities, and our legislative advocate, Anthony Hempstead, is going to be coming forward, and the purpose of this item is to discuss our legislative priorities for session 2026 coming up. Thank you, Anthony. Glad to have you.
Thank you, Mayor Buxton and councilors. About 1 month ago, we went through the potential legislative agenda, so this is a follow-up to that discussion. You have a draft agenda in your packet that tried to take into account the comments from October 2nd, and we'll just briefly talk about what's changed in the last month, and then walk through that potential agenda. A little over a month ago, we had a federal shutdown. Surprise, surprise, we still have a federal shutdown. I've talked to two different congressional offices in the last week on their outlook and what they think is going to be happening with the budget. Again, this could be very different, but both thought that we would end up with a continuing resolution, which is the same outcome as last year, and a continuing resolution doesn't include any earmarks. And so that would mean our $850,000 that we do have in a actual budget bill for Midway Park, if it's a CR, a continuing resolution, we wouldn't get it. But they're saying that if they do a CR, it means that they would really work on doing budget bills in the coming year. And so then we would have to think of, okay, do we delay Midway Park longer, or do we look at a different project? But certainly projects that had been in and didn't get funded have a priority. So something to be thinking about here in the coming weeks, months. And while we'll talk more about the state in just a second, with lots of concerns on the state budget overall, what isn't factored in is all the pass-through dollars that come from the federal government to the state, and that makes up, it's arguable on how you look at it, but between 20 and 28% is pass-through. And we have to make sure that the feds continue to actually pass those dollars through, and that's no longer a given. And tariffs are also hurting hard. Again, Washington's the most trade-dependent state, and so while that's not a federal allocation, it's taking billions of dollars of activity out of the local economy. Locally, lots of changes and continuity from last month, of course, with the election happening. Seems like a long time ago, but just quite recently here. As you may have seen, Edwin Obraz pulled ahead in the 33rd here in just the last couple hours. In the last count, that's very, very close, but historic trends would favor Obraz for winning. Again, trends change, but the city of Des Moines has worked very closely with him, and he was a good partner. Helped to secure $1 million for the Marina Steps. So we would be looking forward to working with him again, or with Mayor Schelling if he comes back and wins as well. There were 9 legislative contests. The incumbent won in each, and so what that means is that legislators will not have really seen any electoral downside to the variety of big legislation that was passed last year, which includes very substantial tax increases. And so I would think that tax increases will almost have to be on the table in one way or another. The next revenue forecast is coming out on November 18th. It is expected to be even worse than the one that came out in September. I was at a presentation by Governor Ferguson last week where he said he would be he is not putting forward any tax increases in his budget, and so he is asking all his departments to come up with further budget cuts. But as what happened last time, Ferguson didn't put forth new taxes, but the legislature did, and so that could well be what happens this session as well, and. As you know, we'll have a new county exec for the first time in 16 years and a new county councilor as well. Wanted to just walk through the different areas of the legislative agenda. Again, you had a draft a month ago. We've taken your comments and tweaked things, tried to make some things quite general so a variety of different things could fit within that language. On public safety, I won't read that, but any concerns or does this look okay or, yeah, okay. Nods, looks good, okay. Funding requests, we're basically just saying thank you. So this is something we always say thank you, but we haven't asked for, we have always been asking for things, yes.
So in regard to that, it does appear second on the agenda, and I just, depending on what we may want to add or tweak on this tonight. Two things. It says funding City of Des Moines projects and capitals, and then you have to read it to see what you're really saying there. So it looks like we're asking for funding again. If all you do is read the bold, the portion of bold.
Yep.
So I might recommend putting this at the end and beginning with a thank you. And then just, thank you from the City of Des Moines.
Okay.
And that way, and then it's a nice closing. And then you can, if depending on what we need to do here, you can make that explanation as short as you need to.
Right.
At the end. So it's more of salutation.
Yeah, okay.
So
Good.
That's all I had on that one.
Good touch and good idea.
Thank you.
Everyone okay with that? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. And then, while not Des Moines specific, we are talking about the need for local government financial resources and tools, and certainly if, with the likelihood that they will be looking at some sort of state revenue enhancements to include locals as well, and also, there will be defense. There will be a lot of defense this session. AWC, the Association of Washington Cities, is concerned on state shared revenue that the state shares with local governments, but that can be a tempting pot of money for them if they say, well, maybe we won't share, or we'll share less, but that might help the state's budget situation, but obviously it would antagonize ours. So, yes.
I just need to be reminded, is this where the coming public defender case standards that we'll have to meet, and we currently don't get any money from the state?
Right.
And the potential of that being a McClary-type situation coming down from the Supreme Court. That is expected next year.
Yeah.
Is this where we're just going to leave it vague and address accordingly? And does that give us a way to support what the other cities are doing?
Yeah, I think we can read a lot into this language. If you want us to get more specific on something, we can, certainly, but.
I'm just wondering if we should.
Yeah. It's your document, but.
Your advisor.
Yeah, yes. I think this gives us enough authority that we can push on things that are in our interest in trying to get funding. But again, if it's a McCleary type of issue, there's no money. So it's a tough year for this.
And a short session.
Yeah. Yes. Right.
Councilmember Grace Monswing.
Thank you. I am also concerned that this bullet point is very vague.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if there are specific strategies that we would be supporting. I know in the past we've talked about raising the 1% cap on property taxes. I'm just wondering, and I wasn't here on October 2nd, so I apologize for not being part of that earlier discussion. But I'm just wondering if we can also add voice to what I know other local municipalities will be asking for, rather than having such a generic type of goal.
What if you said something like, including enhance local government financing tools such as, and then add specifically, I think, not just everything specific, but I think we already know from our legislators what's coming down the pike. At least we will by December, right? Because they convene.
Yeah.
So if we could just, well, they go into committee, they go into their caucuses, right?
There will be committee days in early December.
Right.
Correct.
So we're going to know what kind of bills a few people are going to be bringing forward. So I'm thinking maybe we just say such as and add a couple things. So, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, and maybe we also want to put in a statement about working with other cities and organizations to find those financial resources. So it's more of a group effort rather than an individual. Des Moines is saying we're going to work with everybody to try to find the solution, rather than saying this is what Des Moines wants.
Except, okay,
that make sense?
I have another one that I crossed off here because it is a legislative agenda that something we're asking our legislators to do. And we don't necessarily want to take a bunch of text space telling them we want to work together. Like this one asks, work with other airport committee cities, entities on shared agenda items. Is that a direction for the legislators to work with their cities, or, see what I mean? I don't want to put stuff in the ledge agenda that really is it's a ask for us. This is the work that we're supposed to do. Here's the other thing I'm heading toward. I know that there's going to be a couple more asks tonight to add to this. So how can we be as concise as possible and still be effective, and keep it one page?
Right.
And
Right.
add the things that we all think that we would like on this. So that's where I'm headed with that. Maybe we can think about it for a few minutes. How are you feeling about that, council member and deputy mayor?
Okay, I think I get your point. If we are giving this as something to our legislators, saying this is what we're looking for from you.
From you.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't make sense to say we're not saying we'll work with other cities, but that's implied.
Right. Because we definitely will be. And the opposing unfunded mandates, that was added directly after the discussion on October 2nd as well. And there will be a lot of pressure for unfunded mandates because there's so little state dollars out there this year.
Do you have any specifics you're thinking about, Councilmember?
Thank you. The one that I mentioned, and also I always like to say a few words about protecting the Public Works Trust Fund, which has been a fund that's been rated by the legislators in the past, but is really one of the key pieces that utilities can go to help get low-cost loans to do construction projects or capital projects.
Yeah. And
So kind of a hands-off approach, like,
Yeah,
please leave this alone.
and they will certainly be looking at sweeping
Yes.
all funds.
And I think AWC puts that on their ledge agenda every year.
Yeah.
Don't sweep the public works trucks.
It's a constant that has to be protected, yeah.
Okay, I would be in favor of, like, especially as such as, adding.
Okay. And did you want to mention the 1%? It
Is
will
that
be
coming
back.
forward, do you think, in this short session?
A few months ago, people were saying no, because last year was the best year. 2025, this last session was kind of the strongest shot that we have had since the 1% got put in. So it seemed like it had been taken off the table. Maybe with the results of the election that just took place, and depending on how much worse the situation does get financially, it may have to come back on the table, because it's a substantial increase for the state as well. If it's just for us, for the cities, no, it wouldn't. But the state is benefiting as well, so we could potentially be along for the ride.
I think one of the things that's most helpful in all of these items is to give us some flexibility to be able to respond, since we only meet once a week or once every other week, to give either you or even the administrator, if something all of a sudden comes down the pike, there's a group letter that 5 cities are signing, that gives us the permission, as long as there's a statement that's kind of an overarching. That's the one thing about vague overarching statements, is it gives you the flexibility to respond when you're down there before we meet again. And same with any of us, we can go down and testify on behalf of something if our ledge agenda kind of covers a general subject.
I do think that first sentence is vague enough that it covers our interests.
Okay.
Because there will be lots of different bills that are coming up, and some that we highly suspect, some we don't. You know, it's a twinkle in someone's eye right now, and we'll see it in January. But that gives us a lot of flexibility.
Okay. Did I see your hand, Councilmember Harris? Did you have a question? I wasn't sure. Okay. Any more on this one? All right, ready to go next.
Okay. Airport. We reworked this very considerably from what was on the October 2nd text. And there was considerable discussion about Councilor Mahoney's suggestion last month there. And while the specifics of what Councilor Mahoney was discussing aren't mentioned, what is, and which I think covers us, is, again, the overarching thing is we're trying to find resources, and it does look like there are legal challenges of doing a ticket fee, that it will be very difficult. I don't think we can do it legally.
Understood. I was okay with the language.
Yeah, okay.
I understand the legal ramifications. I think there's obviously laws that could be changed that
Yeah.
would benefit those impacted cities greater, and I think it's worth a pursuit. It's much more, if we could do that, it's much more likely that a lot of the negative impacted communities would benefit. I think it's a reality.
Unfortunately, it's at the federal level that we've got to change.
Yeah.
But not to be said that we shouldn't try to do that.
I'd love to shove an airport at every congressman's neighborhood or city.
Yeah.
That'd change their minds. Thanks.
But it does make a lot of sense as a user fee, certainly. Okay, beyond that point, of course, the first bullet after the larger text, that's the Hoek study, and there has been discussion at the START Public Policy Committee of trying to add that to the overall START agenda as well. And so the other city, I'm part of that committee, and so we discussed it. The other cities were enthusiastic about it. The port not as enthusiastic, but they were thinking about it, and we will be having another meeting in a couple weeks with that group, and could potentially get language included on a SAMP study. We also discussed with Senator Orwell and her bill that includes a study currently, but that study is conducted by UW and King County, so not controlled by cities. But language here is independent study, and I think we can try a couple different ways, of course, with a freestanding bill. We're going to do everything we can to help with Senator Orwell's bill. That will be a tough bill to get through in this short session, too, though. But beyond that, there could be a budget proviso that's just a few sentences on it that could be tucked into the budget. But again, it will take money, and money is, but it will help if even if it isn't in START, if we have an agreement with our neighboring city or our fellow cities here in the airport area, that we can all work on this. The bigger coalition we can build on this, the better, obviously.
Any questions or comments on this one? Councilmember Harris.
Thank you, Anthony. I would just encourage you to watch next Tuesday's commission meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
So my comments or input on this one is similar to the other one. That third bullet point doesn't really speak specifically or even provide an umbrella for a legislator. If you're talking to them, that's more of a charge to the cities to work together. And in the interest of, here again, saving some space on a one page, unless we're going to reduce the font significantly on this one page, the bullet number 2 could be incorporated into the overall statement that says support efforts to find or reinstate mitigation funding for the disproportionate impact of. So if you just add the word or reinstate up to the top their line, you cover bullet number 2, especially when we're talking about what we, in a short session, what we already know is probably coming forward. Just to shorten this is a lot of text for a short session and our expectations about what could happen. So that's my recommendation. Any thoughts on that? Councilmember Harris.
I would also be interested if you could take the temperature of HB 1303.
Yeah. Okay.
Charlotte's thing.
Yeah.
It got through a couple of layers last year, and
It will, again, certainly be extremely controversial, but I have heard that there will be an attempt to push it again this year.
I'm just, port staff I talked to, they basically, 5652 was like the frowny face, and 1303 was like,
So, Councilmember Harris, are you recommending an amendment here in accordance with some of those? Like, is there something that you would like to add up there?
I feel very strongly that Mr. Hempstead is, it's like he's there,
Okay,
and he takes the temperature of this stuff. And I struggle with these kinds of things just as a human being because it's like I'm more comfortable when there's something specific to ask. And if there isn't, then I just say, okay, go out and get them and come back and serve our, because you may find something in arts or historic preservation or something that just, or a ferry or something that there may be some kind of funding thing. I've just noticed over the years that just 2 weeks in, there are 400 bills and all of a sudden something else just pops up.
Right,
And it's like,
right.
who
Yeah.
saw that coming?
Right.
And it's just, we pay you and we should just let you, you know what we're, trying to achieve.
exactly. So do you feel that this language gives you the permission to do what you need to do, knowing what you think is coming down the pike in this session?
I think 1303 could be covered with support efforts to find mitigation funding for the disproportionate impact, blah, 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 blah.
Okay?
That's what 1303 does. And so,
All right.
yeah,
Okay.
that gives us a hunting license.
And then if we need to shorten it, amend it, you've got some
Yeah.
cues there for doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you raise your hand? Yeah,
Yeah,
Deputy
I'm
Mayor
just fine.
Steinmetz.
I would support removing the third bullet point because it's not a specific ask. And then moving the language of reinstatement up into the first line. Support efforts to find mitigation funding or reinstatement of funding. And that would tighten it up considerably, and I think giving you plenty of room to figure out where it's going.
Okay. Sure, I will rejigger that. If that's works with
Are you
everyone.
guys okay with that? All right. No objections. Okay, we're ready for the next one. Thanks, Anthony.
And then slightly changed language on both historic language and ferry development from October 2nd. Where actually, I think historic preservation exactly the same, but a few small changes with the ferry to make it more general, not talking about electric ferries. And we do know that the Mosquito Fleet Restoration Act will be coming back again, and the prime sponsor is planning to push that hard.
Okay. And I would support eliminating the first sentence because it's simply descriptive if we need the space.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay. And thank you for thinking about space, because I do think it's key to keep this to one page. And some cities come in with a 6-page thing, and
All right.
no one's going to read 6 pages.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any comments on this? All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I think if we were to eliminate the first paragraph on the ferries. and Des Moines-
Sentence?
The first sentence, yes. And Des Moines supports the efforts to spur the return of the Mosquito Fleet and other passenger ferries. And that way, we're not limiting ourselves to the Mosquito Fleet, but some other passenger ferries. If there is anything going on with Sound Transit, to bring some of their passenger ferries to Des Moines. King County Metro, I'm sorry, that's what I meant.
Okay. And Mosquito Fleet is kind of a general term for passenger ferries that can go any direction around Puget Sound. So not just east-west, but north-south as well, because that's what the Mosquito Fleet did. So it's trying to be generic there, but so it wouldn't necessarily need to be called out additionally for other passenger ferries, as long as we are only talking about passenger ferries.
I guess I wouldn't have known that, and I
Okay.
don't know how many state legislators would.
Okay, no, that's fair.
That's,
Okay.
I'm just trying to
Yeah,
make sure we're
yeah.
inclusive of whatever anybody can conceive of here.
And it's easy to get down in the weeds or in the with mosquitoes, and yeah.
Exactly.
And forget that it's not a well-known term, so, yeah. Well, I suppose we could eliminate the mosquito fleet term.
I think that's what, that was a huge conversation last year. I think that I think
Yeah.
we need to keep that in. I mean, everybody is.
Okay.
It's, in any of the conversations I've been with ferries,
Yeah.
mosquito fleet's been brought up as
Yeah.
Yeah.
terminology. I think there's enough people familiar with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're good to go to the next slide.
And then
Okay, and Councilmember Oxiger.
just open it up, yeah.
I had an opportunity to talk to Senator Claire Wilson at the Redondo groundbreaking ceremony, and this is pertains to a strategy, and it kind of goes back to what we did on the public safety slide.
Yeah.
Is that she was kind of pessimistic, so she says there's no money, there's not going to be any money, that they're looking at being, having a real problem just finding, some way to do some of the stuff we're still asking here. But the one thing she did say is she said that there is some hope for, if we do things like loosening the restrictions that we have now on funding. And I'm wondering if it might be a strategic approach to go that direction and say, just give us more flexibility on the thing. Because, everybody's going to be fighting for money. It is a short session.
Right.
And if we can, I think, I talked to Catherine about this, if we can just get some flexibility on like what we can use the automated camera monies for, if we can expand what we can use it for, expand their definitions of what public safety is, that might be a way for them to, be able to say, okay, we're helping the situation, but we're not throwing any money at it, so.
Right.
Would you like to add something such as the automated cameras or just
Well,
general
we have, can
overall
you go back to the
statement?
slide with the?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see if the draft
Yeah.
language hits.
Okay.
Yeah, on public safety, the last sentence, I think is fairly flexible
Right,
for.
there, but I'm talking about an overall strategy of coming back. I mean, we've have some things, we've left some markers in here as far as, after some money, we can try and get some of these things. Whereas, are we in a position where it's probably best to just say, just give us flexibility? We're not expecting anything more, but let us, be able to be a little more creative with what we've got. Does that make sense?
So a separate bullet, capital bold that says flexible funding, please allow us more. Is that like one sentence? Is that what you want? Or do you feel like the second bullet under public safety is enough?
Pulling this up as an overall strategy,
Okay,
how we approach things.
I think the last bullet point, we could maybe look at revising a little bit to integrate that concept. The enhancing local government financial resources.
Yeah, right there.
I mean, it came up at the last session, and I think it's going to be, it's still going to be there because they didn't solve the problem of everybody, screaming for more public safety funds.
so are you saying that you want to add something else besides that second bullet? You would like to amend that second bullet? What would you like, Councilmember?
I'm throwing it out for people to
Oh,
to noodle this here and
okay.
see if there's even any, support for, it's an approach.
Okay. Councilmember Harris?
I think we're mixing and matching. I mean, basically, I think what you're talking about are what I was saying. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but essentially, go out and get them, and if you can expand that language. But a lot of people are talking about the language of a document, wordsmithing it, and I think they're two separate things. We talked about this at the last meeting, and I think there was strong support for what you're suggesting. But I'm not necessarily certain that it needs to be part of the document. It
Right.
just simply needs to be his directive.
Right.
Is that,
That's
am I in agreement?
Yes.
Okay,
It's more strategy than,
I just don't want to
Specific
confuse
ask.
the document with
right,
the imperative, and
Yeah.
thank you.
leave no stone unturned.
Okay, right. It does make a lot of sense to try to increase flexibility, because, yeah, we're not getting a bigger pie, but if we can slice it differently.
So I would like to add one bold category and call it hold on housing.
Hold on?
Hold on housing.
Okay. Okay.
Just like one sentence, place further housing legislation on hold and give cities the opportunity to put previous housing policy to work and prove effectiveness. I think a lot of cities are going to be asking something similar to this because their entire planning staffs have been, 50% of all planning in the state of Washington has had to work on these
Right.
all this new legislation. And as you can see, we have a whole bunch of it coming forward still for code in 2026. So how can any of this live? So, and I think it's just exhausting our city staff.
Yeah.
In trying to put all this into action. So that's it.
Can I interject on that? I agree with you 110% of that should definitely be, I think we need to see what the effects are going to be, the parking impacts, the impacts for our schools, so many other things with, getting the density greater and greater. There's going to be things we haven't even thought about and the impacts and costs that it's going to be.
Right.
It's the pendulum swung one way too far on this, and they need to give us a chance to let it get to the middle so we know what as a city, how it's going to impact us and how we can match efforts to service that portion of the additional community, plus the policing, all the other impacts. So I think it's a lot of ideas on a dartboard, but nobody's looked at what the long-term effects are going to be. And so I strongly suggest we have some kind of pause.
Okay. Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Thank you. I disagree. I think that the objective for many of these legislative pushes and bills has been not only to increase the affordability of housing, but to increase inventory, to make sure that there is just more housing available. And it has been the foot dragging and the local control demands of cities that has put us into this affordability and inventory crisis. And so I think that we, unfortunately, are in a place where cities and local governments are responsible for the pendulum going this way, and the state has pushed us back here, and the problem has still not been solved. Housing is still unaffordable, and it's still unavailable. And so while I understand that there is distress about the work and the burden on staff and the amount of changes that are coming, it's because the needle was not moving on making housing more affordable and accessible to the amount of people who have moved to Washington State within the past 5 years, which is a tremendous amount of people. So I am not in favor of this, but we'll go with what the council body would recommend.
Councilmember Harris.
Just as a practical matter, does MRSC have any kind of hot sheet or are there any, there was so much stuff over the past 2 years, I thought things would sort of take a break. I just assume that considering there's like no money, yeah, what's the likelihood of more changes?
Yeah.
Is it, in other words, is it is it something that is a likelihood?
Likelihood is relatively high, in that I think that the last 3 years or so, it's been called the year of housing or the session of housing, and we could be in another year of the session of housing. Was at a NAOP meeting, the industrial developers, or big commercial housing developers, breakfast here a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about how low housing, strikingly low, housing and multifamily starts have been this year, and with for a variety of reasons, and so, as Councilor Grace Matsui was saying, we're in a crisis, and we aren't coming anywhere close to building enough to address that. But there is no money. But they can make policy changes. Yes. Yeah.
I actually agree with Councilmember Grace Matsui, but I am also trying to, as Tim had said, that it might be 125% on the reactor for staff. It really has been a tremendous amount of effort.
Right.
And so I'm on the fence. I agree with it. Well, we basically just kept things. We did this to ourselves, and unfortunately, planning directors have to pay the price. But somehow we have to move the needle on this stuff, and I'm just trying to find a way to further that goal and, not give staff a stroke. So
right.
I support the idea of actually, increasing housing affordability. I honestly don't know what our capacity is to, because I don't know what the actual legislation would look like. So it's tough for me, anyway, It's tough for me to know what to support because it's all pretty abstract at the moment.
Yeah. And
do you have a sense of what?
Very likely there will be more transit-oriented development legislation coming down the pike this year. There have been different forms of that in past years that haven't been completely, or aspects have been passed, but not everything that the sponsors are looking for. So TOD will be a big topic this year.
And my last follow-up is basically, I see the new light rail station as a tremendous opportunity that should be jumped on as quickly as possible. What would be upsetting to me would be that it opens and then it is this resource that we don't leverage for 5 years and we miss a key opportunity. But again, that's all very abstract, and I don't know what I don't know what.
So I've got a hand over here. Was it you, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sympathetic to the need to build more housing somehow, some way. And we've had about 3 sessions of ideas, but the housing market doesn't respond in a year. The housing market responds in maybe 5-year increments. And so we have no idea how those last 3 years are ultimately going to play out, except that there's more codes that need to be written locally for that. And, I think it's really kind of tough to know if anything's working. The transit-oriented development, because it surrounds transit and can be linked that I'm not as concerned about placing the burden. I guess there's a better trade-off right there because we know some of those issues, and actually that was one place that was pretty responsive, was the transit-oriented development in getting something built. But a lot of this other stuff we don't know because it's really private market, and how is the private market going to respond, and that's just going to take a lot longer. So I think there's sort of a middle ground of trying to find, letting a lot of the bills, the housing bills play out, putting a hold on more and only supporting very specific things like transit-oriented development rather than trying to go, okay, stop for a minute, or keep building, keep telling us we have to do things. I also think that this is an area that is really ripe for unfunded mandates.
Right.
And that,
Right.
and we need to be very aware of that. So to the extent we're going to say anything about housing, it needs to be specific, it needs to be funded, and it needs to have a clear understanding of how the market can react.
And I should note with TOD, with transit-oriented development, Des Moines is more affected than most cities because often it includes bus lines and then out up to like a half mile from. So with our long and narrow geography, most of Des Moines gets covered by TOD, not just across from the light rail station.
Because we have a bus rapid ride.
Right, that
Goes up
goes
the highway, yeah. So it creates
all
like
along
a
the entire
tunnel
city, right?
for,
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah.
So just, I also do not want to advocate on this with a significant split on the council on this, because I think a lot of other cities maybe are going to come to the table, and AWC probably will. So I'm not really willing to put our council at a split for this. You've got plenty of stuff on the ledge agenda. So if there's a council member that feels uncomfortable with that, I'm not like 100% like have to have this.
Okay.
So I don't know if we can take the temperature here. How about a head nod if you're in favor of adding this to the ledge agenda? Got a head nod? Yeah, just the word was place further housing legislation on pause and give cities an opportunity to put previous housing policy to work and prove effectiveness. That would be the recommended wording, but here again, if I've got 3 council members that don't like that, I'm not willing to go 3-3 on that. So too broad? Too broad? There's not a yay on this one, so I think I'll withdraw my recommendation.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions or Councilmember Harris.
Since my esteemed colleague took a flyer, since we have historic preservation having its own bullet point, are there any programs that are even in the realm of possibility? Because I can think of some buildings that could be preserved possibly, but I'm hesitant to, talk about it. Well, there's the old school, which we don't own, just a couple of blocks away, which is 100 years ago and 100 years old and lovely. I'm just trying to find out are there any programs or things that you can, I'm not asking you to do anything for this. I'm just saying, are there any opportunities that, beyond just, it would be lovely? And if there are, please.
Yeah, I don't know all the details on the old school, but it could likely qualify for some programs. There needs to be a group that would champion that, though. Ideally, the group that owns it.
There are
yeah.
a number of groups that want to use it, and I don't know what the tension is, but it has struck me like these buildings, they're a binary. It's this thing like it's all or nothing. It's either the $2 million seismic retrofit or just keep it boarded up. And we have I've been approached by 3 different groups that are like, is there a way we could use this just a few days a week?
So are you asking for a modification of this bullet here, Councilmember? What are you asking for?
I'm just asking to.
So
find out what, what opportunities are available.
But we just need to stick to Councilmember Grace wants to.
Oh, I was going to ask that we move on since that is not a state-owned property.
Thank you. So it looks like we are done with this.
Yeah, given the council's discussion, and we only have 2 more meetings, I guess we have 3 more, but this will not be ready for next week, but, because that agenda is pretty full. It sounds like we've gotten a good sense of where you all want to go. Can we bring this back on consent, and you all can let me know ahead of time if we need to pull it, and we'll look to put on a December meeting? Is there general comfort with that? Okay, thank you.
Looks like, thank you.
We'll bring it back in December.
All right, Anthony, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here tonight. Thanks for all you do. Yeah, absolutely. So next up is our commercial parking tax, and I think Matt Hutchins will be coming up to help us with this. The purpose of this item is for the council to consider a citywide tax on paid parking.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Matthew Hutchins, your Assistant City Attorney, with a council discussion on a potential commercial parking tax. So the legislature has authorized cities to levy a commercial parking tax, and that is a tax on, essentially, you pay someone to park your car on their property. The reason this authority is important is because without it, this tax would either be construed as a sales tax or B&O tax, and the legislature has strict confines on what we can do with those, and we're pretty much tapped out already. So this authority comes from the same RCW chapter that allows transportation benefit districts to levy car tab fees. There are some taxes they can levy, but what this means is that these proceeds have to be used for transportation purposes, and that would be those contained in our TIP. City of Des Moines has previously had a parking tax, the years 2005 to 2018. It was eventually repealed by the end of the tax. The city was not bringing in a lot of money. Essentially, at that point, there was one hotel that was charging overnight parking, and we were bringing in about $8,000 a year. But the real issue was that marina paid parking was coming online at that time, and we really needed that revenue to be going to bulkhead replacement. And there was concerns that basically we want as much of that money going to the bulkhead as possible and not having some of it siphoned off for road construction. As you can see, there are some nearby cities that impose a commercial parking tax. Seattle, Tukwila, and the city of Pacific impose about a 15% on the total rate that the parking is charged for, whereas SeaTac and Burien have a flat per transaction fee. So if the council did decide you wanted to impose a commercial parking tax, the vast majority of the money would come from the city lots at the marina and Redondo. Talking to our finance department, it's projected that if we did tax that at the current rates, we'd be looking at about $5,000 per year per each percentage of the tax that was imposed. So 5% would be $25,000 a year, 10% would be $50,000 a year, so on. Now, of course, there are other ways to raise revenue off of the city parking lots. We can impose the tax. That money would go into the roads fund. But also we could just raise the baseline rates. That money goes to the Redondo Fund and the Waterfront Fund. Or, of course, you could do both. You could raise the rates on parking and then tax on top of that. And then they would go to the various funds. So aside from the money coming from the city lots, we are fairly certain that there is still one hotel charging overnight parking. I believe it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $17, $19 a night. We don't know what what that's going to bring in, but it's going to be significantly less than what will be coming from the city lots. And if there are other businesses charging for parking in the city, we will do our best to identify those and get them to pay the tax as well. Again, the funds are restricted to transportation purposes. Now, we can't just use these funds to say, okay, the money we would have spent on roads that these tax monies will go to, we'll shift those over to the general fund. But we can have a discussion in the future if we do have enough through this tax, through other methods, dedicated roadway money coming in. That will take some pressure off the general fund to fill in gaps when we need to do road construction and maintenance. So when the finance director and the city manager brought some revenue options to the council a little while ago, this obviously was one of them. The council had some questions for us, and these are, as best we could, the answers to those. First question was, would this tax apply to Highline College, and can we exempt them? And so a basic tax ordinance of the kind we used to have that the other cities have, it would include Highline College because they would be charging money for parking. But the previous version of the tax that we had in the city did have a carve-out that exempted both public schools and Highline College, or any college that would be in the city. And of course, if the council wished, we could of course do that again. Question number two, what would be the cost of the city if we did impose the tax? Jeff Rend, our finance director, did say that there will be some accounting time that is involved in administering the tax, but it's probably going to be under 10 hours a year. It's going to be less than probably what comes in just from the private lots. And then, will parking passes like we sell for in the marina, would they be subject to the tax? And again, with a just basic defining parking transactions as someone pays to park on their lot, yes, parking passes would fall under that. They would be taxed, and we can spell out in the ordinance as well that parking passes are a taxable event, if that is what the council wants. So there are a few questions for the council to consider. Number one, of course, is would you like to move forward with a parking tax? The answer with that is yes to that. What rate would you like to set? As mentioned before, other cities do about 15%. We could do less or more than that. And you might want to consider the mix of if there are going to be increased parking rates versus taxes. You know, what's the proper balance on that? Three, do we want to, again, exempt public schools and colleges? For the statute that enables us to pass this tax suggests that we could exempt taxes or exempt carpools, vehicles with handicap decals, and government vehicles. The other cities, I believe they have all opted to make these exemptions. So would you like to also follow along and follow the suggestion of the legislature? And is there anything else you'd like to see in the ordinance?
So before we begin addressing each of these questions, I'd just like an opportunity for questions first before you offer an opinion. So clarity questions, I'll go with Deputy Mayor Steinmetz and then Councilmember Oxker.
Yeah, if a landlord at a business rents or as part of the lease, 1, 2, or 3 or 4 parking spaces around the building, are those then are those going to be taxable parking spaces under this?
Under a just basic definition, those probably would be taxable. That is something the council could include or not include.
To clarify, what do you mean by that? If somebody, is it free parking spaces that exist around someplace, or someplace that somebody pays for?
Parking spaces, generally when you rent a business, you get 1, 2, 3, 4 parking spaces with that as part of your lease. And that controls the amount of your lease because those parking spaces have a value. What would be the cost of trying to find out what all of these leases were doing for parking spaces, and how would we?
Well, if it's not broken out at all, it's just an amenity that is included, it would probably not be a taxable event. But if there was rent and also we are renting you this space and this is the value of that, that would be taxable.
I would think, depending upon how many spaces you wanted with your lease, that's going to affect the cost of that lease.
The landlord would have to break it out and make sure that they paid the taxes on it.
Yeah. Okay.
There probably would be a way to write an ordinance that would cover that, but it would impose quite an administrative
I think that
burden.
would actually be pretty complicated, and so
That's what I'm thinking.
the juice may not be worth the squeeze, or whatever the phrases you guys use for that, just because it would be very difficult for us. So I think the purpose of this was really to focus on a consumer parking in a spot when they pay for the paid parking was the original concept.
Councilmember Oxker.
Yes, thank you. Well, could you elaborate on the approaches that are being taken by the nearby cities where Seattle, Tukwila, and Pacific are going with percentages as opposed to a flat transaction rate? What's the philosophical difference there?
Well, so just a car comes into your garage, you pay an hourly rate. The total rate is, you've been there 4 hours, it's $2 an hour. Your total is $8, and the rate is applied to that. That's how the percentage works. With the flat rate, it's your car pulls in, no matter what you pay, you're paying $3 for the city tax, or $3.99 city tax, no matter how long you've been there.
So which are they trying to capture here? Is it short-term versus long-term parking?
It may be. I mean, in our case, we go to the slide that had that, please, Matt.
Sure.
In our case, just for a person going in and paying for parking, like at the marina, which is the most common, time we'd see it, a percentage is going to be much more affordable than doing a per transaction, because for many people, even their per transaction is less than the tax variance assessing. So I think we're throwing that up there as an option, but I think our recommendation would be a percentage, or we can just look at, as Matt said, increasing the parking rates. I would also remind the council, as you all know, this is one of 2 revenue enhancement items tonight. The second one definitely is more overall significance, so I just want to pace yourselves on your willingness to raise revenue.
Well, I understand the impact on our parking. The question is whether or not we're going to apply this to the college. And at that point what are we trying to?
From staff's perspective, we would recommend you exempt Highline College. That's just our perspective. Again, the purpose of this isn't, it's not going to generate enough revenue that we really need to add an additional burden on, community college students. So it's up to the council if you want to assess it on them. We'd have to work with Highline College on that, but I mean, when we were running our numbers, we were not anticipating we would be including them in this.
Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. So as a practical matter, we're talking about the marina, mostly kind of 85%,
Marina and Redondo are going to be most of the money, yes.
And when was the last time we raised marina parking rates?
It looks like we haven't, because we have not.
Okay, and what are the constraints on the marina parking revenue, if any?
Jeff, can you come up and answer? It's waterfront zone money, but it goes to paying back the equipment, and then can you come up and talk about that?
I'm sorry, I'm leading to something very simple.
So the main commitment for the parking tax money that comes in through the parking system is to make the bond payment that funded, the various projects, including the parking systems. So that's about $250,000 a year.
Okay, well, thank you.
But there's not a restriction on the parking revenue.
But that's the intent. You're saying it's not a restriction, the funds are not constrained for the.
Correct. It's just earmarked for the bond payment.
Okay, so is an option simply to raise the parking rates a couple of bucks, at the next cycle and?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what Matt indicated was an option.
That just seems to be yeah, thank you very much for indulging me.
All right, any other questions before we attend to the staff questions? I had a couple, just to make it very, very clear, this is not an ask to institute paid parking in commercial areas, correct?
Correct.
This is, okay. And the city receives all of the 10% versus, for example, how much somebody would pay 10% on sales tax, and we only get, how much does the city get on sales tax? Like less than one? Less than a penny.
That's
So-
correct. It would all go to the city.
Yeah, so this is like a 10% tax where it all comes back into the city if people use it. Okay. So for example, if you were to purchase a $40 parking pass down at the marina and we instituted a 10% tax, that parking pass would cost $44.
Yes.
Okay? Those are my only questions. So I think we can go to the slide with your questions. Should staff move forward with a parking tax? So if you feel like the staff should move forward with the parking tax, raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 6 of us. So even if there were 7, so that answer's yes. What rate? Is there a rate that the council members feel comfortable with? Councilmember Mahoney?
I'm going to say 15 to be consistent with what we've seen in the examples.
Okay, any other options or offerings? I like 10. Anybody else? Okay, so somewhere between 10 and 15. Exemptions for public schools and our colleges. If you're in favor of those exemptions, please raise your hand for the exemptions. Yeah, yes? Sure, go ahead. But keep in mind that everybody raised a hand.
I know, but,
Okay.
well, here's, going, and I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot having been a professor at the college
Okay.
and doing this. There's a lot with the light rail coming in, there's going to have to be a lot of road adjustment and everything in the area. And it includes all the way to, I'm looking at 240th, where the kind of development we're going to have to do with that and everything. We don't collect property tax from the college. It does have an impact on the rest of the city. We're talking 15%. I do know that what it costs well, it did 5 years ago. I don't know if they've expanded it up, but it was basically $1 a day to park on the college campus. So when we're talking 15% on top of that, I mean, it's not that much, but it's something contributing back into the system. I mean, some people have said that the biggest problem we have in the city is that we have too much educational property, we have too much church-oriented property that we don't collect taxes on. So I really think we should apply it to the college.
Councilmember Mahoney.
That was my initial indication too, when the staff recommended that they didn't. And here's the thing is, I know that actually I think it's a little bit more now, because I've gone there and paid for when I visited on various appearances, and I think I paid a couple dollars through the machines. And yeah, as far as the impact to the students and stuff, I mean, they're already being charged. So if the college was that concerned about it and not charging, and it was free, like I believe the public schools are, because I don't know, I'm not, when I go to Mount Rainier, I never pay, or, so from what I understand, they don't. So yeah, I agree that changing in this conversation with Councilmember Oxaker's opinion, I also agree that we probably should be charging them as well. You know, obviously they handle all their charging and they have the machines, and or I think I believe they buy passes too.
That's where the majority of it is the students are buying a quarterly pass.
Yeah.
And like I say, it was $49, so, and that did not cut it for, I think it was 58 construction. So it was basically $1 a day.
Yeah, but I know that, and I've witnessed it on many of I've been up there more times than I can count over the last 8 years. I've always paid. And I've seen several people at the machines as well. So I think I'm tending to agree with Councilmember Oxaker that I think we should include the college.
It looks like you made a compelling argument, Councilmember. So we haven't voted on it. It will come back, and we can have more discussion when it comes back. So it looks like Councilmember Grace Matsui.
I would love to know, with posted rates perhaps on their website, how much that would net.
Oh, good. Similar question, number 4, carpools, vehicles with handicap decals and/or government vehicles. I think Matt said that these are common exemptions for the other cities. Is that true?
Yeah, I believe all the cities have this exemption.
Okay.
I think, though, just real quick, from a practical standpoint, another attorney for the city thinks this will be very, very challenging to actually implement. So feel free to have your discussion, but it sounds like we need to work out the practicality of this.
Okay, Councilmember Mahoney.
Yeah, I was going to say, first of all, carpools with the predominant amount probably coming from our marinas. They're already at the gates. How would you identify that?
To be clear, it's tax exempt carpools, so it's, I think it's like transit service.
Oh, okay.
Van pool
Okay.
type things.
Got that. Yeah, that'd be the other one. And I know we do offer handicap parking that doesn't require us to have people go through our marina gates. So I don't know, to your point, if it's necessary.
Unless people feel really strongly, let us see what's practical, and then we'll come back with the draft. It sounds like people are interested in this, which is great.
Are
So we
they?
can come back.
Are we?
Well, I meant with this concept, right, of moving forward the parking tax. So we could come back with a draft and see what's practical.
Okay, all right. Any other comments on number 4? Okay, let's move to number 5. Anything else you should include, or any other information you'd like when we're discussing this or trying to make a decision? Councilmember Oxaker.
Just one question is, okay, the parking tax funds are unrestricted?
No, they're restricted to, go ahead.
They are restricted to transportation projects. If it was just to increase the parking fee, that is less restricted, that is more flexible. So the original thing that was brought to the council was a parking tax, because that's a common thing we see in other cities.
Right.
But as this conversation has evolved, if there is interest in just, we understand you all need revenue, make it flexible, look at the parking rate, increase it a little bit, we are happy to do that in lieu of.
But that's on the rates that we control.
It is. I think it's, I don't, do the rates go to council or their city manager discretion? They're now $1,000.
I don't,
Kidding.
yeah.
Okay, we gotta go this way. So Councilmember
One reserved
Mahoney,
spot in the parking lot.
Councilmember Mahoney, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and then Councilmember Grace Munt.
So the parking rates have always, that money's been earmarked to pay back parts of the bond. With the tax being separate, that goes into a different fund. I think raising the parking tax, or raising the parking rates, then we'd have to disseminate what percentage goes to the bond and what percent goes to transportation, or would it all go to the bond? The idea is to offset some of the transportation cost because construction has gone up so much, right? So we'd want, I think the recommended method you have here may be the best for basically doing the two things we needed to do. I don't see, I see complications if we just raise the rate.
I think it's sort of two different philosophies. So originally, in September, when we brought you all that menu of revenue options, we really were trying to sort of get the council's pulse on, nobody wants to talk about charging our residents more money, period, right? And so sometimes it's more palatable to talk about, raising revenue that is very specifically earmarked. The next item we're going to talk about is very specifically earmarked. The public safety tax, very specific. And sometimes that can be more palatable to the public because they feel like they know exactly where that dollar's going. That is sort of why we got started on the tax version. But here, if there is an interest in sort of just do it more general, we're happy to look at that as well. We recognize that this is about the money raised, but it's also about how the public receives it. And so we're trying to sort of gauge where you all are.
So then Deputy Mayor Steinmetz and then Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Yeah, I mean, my initial reaction, since the tax as presented was primarily about our own parking lots, was just, I'd rather just raise the rates. And just do it directly and have less restricted funds. But if we're not going to exempt Highline, all of a sudden, that may be a significant chunk. I don't know. We don't have any idea. And yeah, I understand why you would assume that we would have exempted that, but we need to know that because that's how it's going to play out. There are certainly transportation needs and costs that are coming that hopefully we can figure out some way to recoup. If we just do a parking rate exemption or a parking rate raise, then that doesn't involve Highline. So we need more information really to suss out the difference in the two approaches. Okay. That's kind of where I'm seeing it.
Councilmember Grace Matsui and Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. This is one of the menu items, if we call it, on our a la carte menu of where to look for more sources of revenue. And it was in addition to what you already have the mandate to do, which is to determine the parking rates at the marinas. So it's a new funding source that we've identified that I think is actually was let expire in 2018, I'm not sure. Why, but we are talking about reinstituting. And so it's a new revenue source that we're talking about, which is why it's important to talk about both, I think, rather than one over the other. The rates around the marina are something that you automatically have the authority to assess and take a look at. So I think it's important to focus on that this as a new revenue source, and it could be more if we have less exemptions, which I think is a worthy thing for us to debate, absolutely. It also would impact one hotel property that we believe. So it's not just about the city properties, it includes some other things as well. And although we don't know exactly how much potential revenue it could be from a tax on the educational institutions, it's more than zero, which is what we collect now. So I don't need any more information saying, oh, should we think about one or the other? We've been talking about both because we already have one and we're talking about instituting something that's new. Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
It will be far more palatable to the public to simply raise the rate a little bit. It is normal to raise parking rate, to review parking rates every once in a while. It simplifies the accounting, which I always like. It reduces complexity, which I always like. And it's unconstrained. And as far as educating people, we've spent years educating the public and building trust in the concept of paid parking. You'd have to have been at the marina to understand just how much resistance there was for years and years to paid parking. And now people are like, okay, it's relatively affordable and so on. That discussion is over. But I will tell you what people really resent is being nickeled and dimed. They get a bill from every utility, all these different 11 franchise agreements, and they see, it's like, oh, here's another little tax, here's another little tax with Des Moines on it. And it drives them bananas. Psychologically, it will simply be easier to sell this as a normal rate increase over time, and it's more flexible money for us. And it just seems so dead simple to me than adding a new layer of complexity and irritating people, because you're going to have to educate them as to why this is a good idea. It'll irritate people. That's all I got. Thank you.
Any other comments? I think my response to that is I see that and I get irritated myself every time I open my utility bill, but I do also, I wonder how much we really would need to educate people, because I think it's much more of a surprise to pay the exact amount that somebody tells you that something's going to cost versus if there's a tax added onto it. I would expect it. I think I would be surprised anymore to go somewhere, pay for something that's supposed to be $40, and that's all that my credit card says. I think if people go to the marina and buy their pass and they see that it's $40 plus tax, I don't think anybody's going to say, what? I think people are just expecting to pay tax on anything they buy these days. So I don't see that sticker shock so much. I think it's going to be more a decision of where we want to go to increase revenue. And I do appreciate hearing all the ideas tonight. Okay, any other comments on that? Do you guys feel like you have your marching orders?
I think we're going to come back with quite a variety of scenarios.
Okay.
With real dollar amounts.
Excellent.
And then you guys can tell us what you'd like.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Next up is our transportation benefit funding conversation. Tommy Owen is coming to the podium. The purpose of this item is for council to consider a possible increase in card tab fees.
All right, good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tommy Owen, City Engineer. This evening I'll be presenting the Transportation Benefit District funding considerations. So, the most important thing, TBD does not mean to be determined. So the TBD for the city means the Transportation Benefit District, and it was established in 2008 by the City Council. We began collecting fees in 2009 at $20 per car tab renewal. There was some changes to state law in 2015, which allowed us to collect $40 per car tab, which the TBD board authorized. So we currently still assess the $40 fee per car tab, and it generates about $950,000 in restricted transportation revenue per year. So these fees cover expenditures both in the street fund and the street pavement fund. A lot of that is pavement repairs, annual striping that we do, traffic signal maintenance, snow plowing, and then the administrative and labor costs associated with that. This revenue that's currently collected and any sort of increase, it stays within the city. It goes directly into these visible community improvements that you see whenever we're out there paving roads, fixing roads, any of that sort of thing. These transportation dollars would preserve the flexibility in the general fund for other core services like police, parks, and rec. So the transportation dollars stays, it's generated from transportation, and it stays within transportation. So back in September, the council was presented with options to increase revenue. An increase to the TBD was one of those presented, and the thought was maybe to increase the TBD car tabs from $40 to $50. The council does have the authority by ordinance to increase it to $50, and that $10 increase would generate approximately $240,000 per year, which again would just be restricted transportation revenue. As to when the fees could be imposed, there's a 6-month time in which it must be noticed, and then so likely we would not see these revenues until 2027. So cities throughout the state utilize car tab fees for transportation revenue. There's a few that are at $50, we're there at $40, and there's a number at $20. You'll see a number of those cities also have an asterisk, and they impose a TBD sales tax. Typically, that's up to 0.3% sales tax that goes, again, to transportation revenue. And that's usually something that goes out to a vote. So what would an additional $240,000 fund per year? It's about 1.5 FTEs for street maintenance staff, or an increase in annual asphalt paving by about 25%. Another example is a few months ago, we entered into an interlocal agreement with Midway Sewer District. Basically, we partnered with them on one of their projects to pave 16th Avenue. So for that it was a little over $200,000, we're getting 2 lane miles of 16th Avenue paved. So there's future potential interlocal agreements, especially there's one up in North Hill with Highline Water District that's potentially in 26, that we would potentially enter into another interlocal agreement to do the same sort of thing. Other examples of capital projects with TBD funds are arterial street pavement preservation, downtown alley improvements, the Barnes Creek Trail, and the 200th and 199th improvements project. So with that, I'll leave you with a suggested motion and take any questions.
All right, before we entertain the motion, any questions? Councilmember Mahoney.
Tommy, so obviously this $40 has been in place for 10 years. In that time, cost, if you can, so say a mile would cost $400,000 in 2015 to pave, and now it's $1.2 million. Do you have any idea of like what the increases in construction costs are? I know they've gone up significantly and outpaced inflation, but
Yeah, they have gone up significantly. I mean, I would have to say in the realm of 15-20%.
okay, over that 10-year window. Okay.
And so are you getting at that a $10 increase is like 20%-ish? Is that the point that you're?
Yeah, but this is for questions. I wasn't going to make comments later.
Thank you. I'm sorry. You're right. My bad. Okay, questions? Any more questions for Tommy? All right, so we'll open for a motion, and then we'll have discussion. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, a motion?
I move to direct staff to prepare a draft ordinance to increase the transportation benefits district fee to $50 and bring forward at an upcoming city council meeting.
Second.
There's a motion, Deputy Mayor, and a second, Councilmember Mahoney. Open for discussion. Councilmember Mahoney.
So, I mean, everybody I always talk to always says that they are willing to pay a tax that's well spent and for what it's intended. Being on the Transportation Committee now and chair for nearly the 8 years, almost 8 years I've been on, I have seen this through various projects be the revenue source that gets these done. He's talking about the North Hill project where we pay several streets because they were only responsible for the one side, we paved the other. Essentially, what we could do years ago, we're 15–20% less that we can do without the increase. It's really just more of an inflationary adjustment. I have just seen it be one of the most, when you assess taxes, and as you get into a council member, you see which ones you feel are very well spent and others that, you kind of might shake your head at. And this has always been one that has a direct correlation to it. Yes, everybody, when they get their car tabs, is very frustrated. I see it too, and I used to be very frustrated. When I learned what it meant and what it did and what the purpose of that tax was, it made a lot of sense to me. Now, is the public going to understand it? Most likely not, and especially they're going to be infuriated when they see it and they see the change. But the truth is, it gets roads paved, and it's going to get 15–20% more of our roads paved. That's what it's going to do, and it keeps up with the times.
Any other discussion? Councilmember Harris.
Don't take this the wrong way. I would love to give you 20% more money, but this discussion is, it's at cross purposes. The notion is we have to do something about the general fund. So you can either keep your budget where it is and then move that overage into another account, fine, or you can build 20% more roads. You can't do both. And I'm just saying this as a cautionary tale in terms of accounting. We tend to argue both sides of the street, and that's not fair to the public. It would be better to simply say we have a need for 20% more road construction rather than saying that it's a floor wax and a fruit topping. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
We have a need for 20% more road construction. That's what this will provide. That's exactly what this is about. It's a fairly straightforward thing. Keeps up with inflation, and it's a revenue source that we need to increase. Thank you.
Any other discussion? I'm very ambivalent about this. I think the public is going to be pretty upset. And the problem here for me is I know that we had a menu of revenue options, and they're all coming back to us at different times. And honestly, there was one in particular that I feel like really had a significant, offered a significant opportunity to help us out. But that discussion is not going to happen until almost all these other options are visited. And if I knew that the utility conversation was going to cover a huge chunk of our challenges, I would just go, that's a no-brainer. No, no, no. On these two, Councilmember Harris's point, nickel and diming the public. So if I knew what was going to happen with that other conversation, that would help me with these. And I don't know, I've just got an emotional response to this one. I don't like it. And I don't think the public is going to like it. But the thing I do like is $240,000. And so I'm having a hard time with, and then hearing this. So I'm still thinking about what I'm going to do with my hand in a few minutes. Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, I get sort of the stickers every time, but truthfully, if you could just change that TBD on the receipt to Transportation Benefit District, which I've been told you can't do, because people do. That's exactly what they read. People laugh at me, but that's it infuriates them seeing that nondescript thing. So I'll just cut this rhetoric short by saying the city, if we're getting a new website, we should have the best darned explainer page in human history regarding, because we now, I keep saying, we've become a fee-for-service thing, and we got a lot of splaining to do, Lucy, about all of these different fees. People just feel the 17, 18 little things, and we owe it to them to make it just dead simple, that, you know, this is what these things are. Thank you.
Okay, well, I do have one more thing to say. I think I made a decision. I feel like I will vote in favor of this tonight, but if I have an opportunity to vote on the other two items, I will vote no on those in hopes that our utility conversation makes up the rest. So that's where I'm at on this. I just don't think we should say yes to the whole menu as it just comes forward piecemeal to us. That's my opinion on that. You've already gone twice, Councilmember Harris, so with a head nod of the council. Pardon? Oh.
I want to address why it's coming back piecemeal.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you all asked for varying levels of follow-up work.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think you want to be here for 12 hours for us to go through all of them. I don't see the appetite for that. So it really is meant to, you asked for varying levels of follow-up information. And so we're responding to that. Some of those take much longer. The cameras will go into 26. The swim item will go into 26 because there's a lot of analysis for that. So it's not meant as some intentional way to try and get you all to say yes to a bunch of stuff. That's not the intent, and I want to be really clear with that with the public too. And then when you said you're going to vote no on the other two items, I don't follow. What are those other two items?
These two that we talked about tonight, the parking tax and the, what was the little one?
I think the parking.
Oh, the parking tax is the little one. So,
Okay.
yeah. And thank you for that, because that wasn't my intent, to criticize staff, so thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate you noticing that and feeling that. That wasn't my intent at all. I'm just facing the difficulty of trying to decide what to choose, because I don't want to say yes to the entire menu, and I don't know how to pick when things come one at a time. So thank you so much for that. The staff is working super hard to respond to our direction when we got that list. So thank you. Go ahead, Councilmember Oxker.
Can we get a rolling tally of what we're raising?
That's a great question. So far, you all have approved the public safety sales tax, which I still remain optimistic about, but as I've been providing you all updates, actual adoption of it is appearing to be very challenging for many of our neighboring cities from CJTC. So the Association of Washington Cities, Anthony's well aware. Many of you are aware. I had a call this week with the other city managers. Like, we are working on that, but that is a revenue source that you will approve that we really appreciate, that I still think will come through, because I think CJTC will be under so much pressure from all these cities that they're going to have to figure it out. But technically right now, no one has gotten it approved. So that's a purgatory one. And that's actually the only one you all have approved. You approved us to go to negotiating, which would have a committee from council that would help guide how that goes. That's the only, so actually you've only approved one so far that's pending. But I get it, it's real and it feels cumulatively like a lot on the public, like, man, I get that. But, you know, we're trying to bring it back to you in a timely fashion when we can.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. My concern is that the budget is next week, and somehow it would be lovely if there were, like, alternate scenarios. I'm concerned at evaluating a budget with so many different balls in the air and timing elements. And if there's a way to just think about, okay, what will this mean if this happens and that happens? The whole idea going to the biennial budget was, to create some kind of it just seems like, there's just a lot, and it's weird talking about a budget with so many different other elements that might
So
shift.
many of
Maybe
these
not.
potential revenue sources would actually not come into play until the 27-28 budget, when they'd actually be realized. The public safety sales tax, if that was approved, would be realized in '26, but if you recall, that will have its own fund. And really, we weren't just shifting over general fund expenses to that. We were hiring a new officer, so it's actually a new expense. We were putting indigent caseload there, so it's technically a new expense. And then we were going to put animal control there, which is a return of an expense. So the budget you will see next week does not contemplate any of the new revenue sources, the public safety sales tax, but we've got a big caveat there that we're not going to encumber any of those funds until we have approval.
Is there a way to sort of have a one-pager that says this hits in '26, this would hit in just what you just said?
We could look at that, bring it back. That would be also like, depending on what you pick off the menu. But yes, I hear the comment, and let us see what we could do to try and make that clearer.
Thank you so much.
Deputy Mayor Steinmetz?
Call the question. We have a motion in front of us, and we're way off topic at this point.
If it helps people make their decision about how they're going to vote, I'm open to conversation. So we can go ahead and vote. There we go. If everybody's done. All right, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. 6-0. All right. Okay, so, council, I am going to ask, we have an executive session on the agenda if we did not finish. So I'm going to ask if, after sitting, if anybody has any clarifying questions that they would like to ask or discuss in executive sessions, same subject, we will dismiss for 5 or 10 minutes if you would like. Did anybody have any more questions in regard to that? All right, we will not dismiss to executive session. We took care of our business earlier in the evening. The next meeting date will be November 13th, a City Council regular business meeting. Please remember to pick up after yourself on your way out. Councilmember Harris, would you like to take the motion?
I move to adjourn this here City Council meeting.
Do we have a second? All in favor? Aye, it's unanimous.